Hey everybody, Ozark coming here. So this is Jeroen van Manen, a Dutch dairy farmer and a representative of the Dutch Dairy Farmers Association, who are part of the Dutch farmers' protest. They are not only protesting for their land, but as he very clearly says here, they know it's not just about their land; it's about their very nation, their economy, their sovereignty. And he lays it out very clearly here, as he has in other interviews. So, and of course, this is about a nitrogen tax that is going to put the Dutch farmers out of business, make the government to where they can come in and seize their land. And it is a much bigger thing than that because it's green energy that's not even green, that's not even necessary to save the world from pollution when the whole West only produces 20% of all the world's pollution anyway, and it won't do anything about the real polluters in the East, like China and India. So let's look at the reasoning behind it. And then I will also tie into Ukraine and Russia and what this has to do with creating a global food crisis, specifically in the third world, that will then force the relocation into these countries, including ours here in the US, which is already largely happening.
It's very much true. They want to get rid of farms to make some nature land and also build houses. Houses which we don't need for Dutch people because a normal Dutch couple would get 1.8 or 1.9 children, but they're building them for the refugees. 100,000 people are immigrating to Holland every year, so it makes up for about 1 million in 10 years' time. And that's what they want to do, build 1 million houses.
So this is GBN News. The reporter is also saying that something similar is happening in Britain, really with all the Western nations, including here in the U.S. As he said, within 10 years, they're going to have a million refugees, and that's not all. Holland is actually a lot of open, flat land, but it's already the most densely populated nation in Europe. They're already, by any metrics, like they said, overcrowded, but it also has a lot of nice, flat farmland. Holland is one of the most major exporters of grain and food in the world. Also, Ukraine and Russia, major exporters. Same with the U.S., major exporters. The state of Iowa alone has enough food to feed the entire continent of Africa. That's a problem. The Middle East relies on Ukraine and Russia. They're not going to be shipping out their grain like they had before this year. They're going to, of course, feed their own people first. Same thing with Africa. They have these massive growing populations, and thanks to Western medicine and Western, imports of food, cheap food, they're able to have these, synthetically large populations. They keep having kids. They keep growing the populations without having the infrastructure or the nations or the societal structures or anything or even the traditional family structures to deal with it. Nigeria has exploded to 200 million people just in one nation alone in the last few decades. Now, when these nations don't get their food from the Ukraine Russia war, from all this, from the fake green energy, which even Germany has recently admitted, by the way, these protests are happening all across Europe. People in Britain are protesting against it. Their conservative party has completely betrayed them, completely allowing the whole refugee crisis continually coming in, replacing their native populations, just like they are in all of our Western nations. But everybody's too scared to say that. It's not a theory, people. It's happening. It's happening in all of us, specifically in the ethnically Western nations. Canada is planning on bringing in, I believe, millions of South Asians over the next few years. That's what the Canadian trucker thing was really about. They could afford to put these people out of house and home and job because they're going to import new people, maybe lower wages, force the native Canadians, who are going to be put out of a job, force them on the government welfare. They already can't hardly afford housing in Canada, taxing them and regulating them out of housing, the middle class, while meanwhile they give free housing, welfare in the United States. Half of illegal aliens are on welfare, so they can have as many kids as they want, while the native population, thanks to things like Obamacare and everything else, has forced us to delay starting our families, just like in Holland and other places in the West. We are at replacement levels in our population, which, I mean, really, we'll be fine. There are over 7 billion people in the world. But the third world is not slowing down. And now, thanks to these manufactured food crises, the very thing that they're doing to destroy their farms and take their land is being done against us, is being done against the entire Western world to create these food crises in the third world, in the Middle East and North Africa, or in all throughout Central West Africa. 50% of Africans said that they want to come to the United States or Europe. That would mean hundreds of millions completely flood our country. At this point, we've already had, at minimum, 2 million people illegally cross into our borders at the open invitation of Biden, which he doesn't have the authority to do, causing an illegal invasion. And again, 50% of them will end up on welfare. Completely change our populations, our communities, our jobs, our economies, without our say, against our law, against our sovereign nations, against us, the Western peoples. This is deliberate. There's no ignoring it or avoiding it. Just Google it and look up the news articles how the left and the bureaucracy has been openly cheering this on to give themselves permanent one-party rule and forever change our peoples and our societies and destroy everything we ever built. A nation is also the people. You change the people, you change the nation. This is Ozark Elman. You'll have a good one. Get on your state government, I should also add. Get on your state government, your state reps, your state senators. I'm talking about the state level government. Make them dust off the books and enforce their state authority to punish employers who employ illegals, do not allow state welfare for them. You eliminate these things and you will keep your area secure and sovereign. It's down to local areas and state areas now. That's all you can do. Our federal government has thrown us under the bus no matter who we elect. The unelected federal bureaucracy is changing our nation illegally and working with drug cartels and these terrorist organizations, changing our populations. This is Ozark Elman. You'll have a good one.